Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Firstly, thanks for visiting my channel. I appreciate you coming here to see what I have to offer. Thank you to all my current subscribers and people considering subscribing. I appreciate that. If you would, before you leave, make sure to hit the like button. That helps me out a lot. And the other thing I wanted to mention is now that I've hit 1,000 subscribers, I've added a Buy Me a Coffee link in all of the video descriptions, as well as up on the top right hand part of my page. So if you wanted to contribute to a starving artist, feel free to. You're certainly not required to, though. But today I thought I'd do something Christmassy. So I'm going to do a little Christmas tree with a stone on top of it as the little star on top of the Christmas tree. So let's get started. Okay, so this is kind of what I'm going for, this look right here. I hope you can see it. Be kind of a Christmas tree made out of 14 gauge square wire. I'm going to use a little bit of this twisted wire that I made for something else a while back. It'll make a good trunk for the tree. For the bezel, I'm going to use 3/16 inch fine silver bezel strip. I believe it's 28 gauge. That's what I use for most things. And like I said, 14 gauge square wire for most of the tree itself. And for the little lip that goes inside of the bezel to hold up the stone that we're going to use, since I'm using a faceted stone, I'm using some 18 gauge round wire for that. We'll also be using a little bit of 26 gauge sheet for the bail on top, as well as a little bit of 22 gauge round silver wire for that as well. That part right up there, if you can see. The stone I chose is, I hope you can see it, it's very pretty sparkly synthetic blue Spinel, and I like these ones a lot. They have a real deep rich color, so we'll see how it turns out as a Christmas tree top. So let's start by doing the bezel, I guess. It needs to be round enough to where it doesn't try to ride up one side when I'm doing this. With faceted stones, you want to get a pretty snug bezel. Well, with most stones for that matter, but I like about the fine silver bezel strip. It's pretty forgiving. You can squish it flat again, and it removes most of the big dimples and stuff. Thanks to all of you who've done that Buy Me a Coffee thing. That's really kind of fun, and it makes me feel good. And it helps. Where, oh where did my tweezers go? Should put all my tools that I'm constantly misplacing on one of those little things that custodians wear on their belt to carry all their keys, so they're on a chain so I never lose them. Whenever I've had live classes in the past with actual human beings in my shop, it seems like there's always somebody in the class who's a tool hoarder. I'll be like, where did all the shared tools go that we've been using? And somebody will fess up that they have like 10 different tools sitting on their lap, which is funny. It's just I've seen that more than once in class. It seems to be a pattern. If you want to see a little more detailed explanation of what I'm doing with the little step bezel for the faceted stone, I'll try and remember to put a link up here. Hopefully I'm pointing at the right part of the screen. About 50% of the time I get it right. That looks pretty good. Okay, use a little 18 gauge wire to build a couple of jump rings to put on the inside of that. And that'll create a lip for our stone to sit on. Curious if anybody's making any of these things that I'm showing how to make, and if they are, I'd like to see some of them sometime. It'd be fun if some of you went to my website where you can email me and forward me some pictures of your pieces. I'd like to see those. Maybe sometime I'll make a slideshow of different people's successful pieces that they've made. If you don't know how to get to my website and you wanted to do that, there should be a link right up by that Buy Me a Coffee thing at the top of the top right hand side of the YouTube channel page, I think. And if you're on a mobile device like an iPad or an iPhone or something, I think it's in the About section. You can also buy some of these things you're seeing me make there. Although quite a few of them got snapped up pretty quick, so. Fits nice and tight. If you make them too tight though, they'll try to shift upwards on one side. That'll cause a platform that you can't set a stone on very flat. So, oopsie, sorry about that. It's clearly too big still. That looks better. Okay, so now I can solder that on. And I'll use a couple of pieces of this solder over here. I find it easiest to solder these to the inside of the bezel if I set it on top of some solder. Just kind of sucks it right up in there. And just file off the bottom till it's flat. Now I just need to figure out how to make the tree itself. So it seems to me that if I make each of these isolated pieces, I'll be able to get a nice sharp angle on them and then just solder them all together. So I think that's the tactic I'm going to take. And I can kind of get an idea of proportions here. So if I want to do this one, plus the little swoop that goes in there, maybe about that length, plus about that much more. So, except I think I'm going to have to do it in separate pieces in order to get that sharp of an angle. So I think I'm going to do it that way. So let's cut a piece like that, and then a piece a little bit longer, and we'll see how that goes. And I'm going to cut one more of each of these in the hopes that I will be able to duplicate it for the other side. and I don't want to just guess at the length that I used for the first one. So first off, let's file one of these ends flat. Actually, let's file them both flat. Now, if I had been smart, which apparently I'm not, I would have bent the wire, given the wire a little bit sharper bend than it already had, because it's got a little bit of a bend to it, and just use that pre-existing bend to create the little slight bends that these have too. But because it's much harder to make bends like that on a little tiny piece of metal than it is something that gives you some leverage like a longer piece. Square wire always has a tendency to try and twist on you when you bend it. Try to prevent that from happening when you're bending these. So, if I want these to meet, nicely here and have a nice seam, I need to file an angle on these longer ones here so that I can flush solder those together. So it'll be a pretty significant amount of filing to remove this here. So I think I'll do this other one the same way. That looks all right so far. This one's a little bit longer than that one, I think. I think for doing the other parts of it, it would make it much easier if I solder this part together so it's ready to go. And then we can just keep adding layers. So I think that's how I'm going to do this. If you remember on this picture here, there's going to be a jump ring right up here. Or excuse me, there's going to be a stone right there and then a jump ring on top of that. So the stone, if I just solder them together like this, it'll have kind of a little nook there to solder right into, and I can round it out with either the Dremel or with the half-round jeweler's file. Kind of about the same, pretty much. I curved them a little more this time, but I still need to do a little bit more, I think. This here. And I have to have these guys coming off of there, kind of, like that. In order for that to happen, I need to file kind of an edge on these guys, that way. Actually, you know what? I remember now, I need to file these guys. These guys need to come more to a point in here, so I'm going to file off some of this. So I filed these ones to kind of a point, close to a point, and then I filed these ones at an angle so that it would situate itself like this, so it curves down for the next one. So we'll see how that turns out. Spend more time pushing things around my soldering pad. Let's do it over here, it's a bit flatter. Kind of along that lines. I think I need to file these ones a little bit. smooth out where I just soldered those together in here a little bit, since I won't be able to file that very easily. Again, these guys need to kind of curve in like that. I don't want them to be like that. So, to start with, I need a kind of an angle right over here a little bit. That looks pretty good. So the more time you spend shaping these, I think the better outcome you'll have. That's not too bad. Okay, looks like I still got some solder there. Okay, I think I'm going to do the same thing I did last time. I'll bend these in a little bit. Like that better. Okay, some more time for some more square wire. Let's bend it in a sharper curve so I don't have to do that so much. Okay, oh, looking like that. Do one more here. I'm going just a little bit out beyond where the other one is, the last one, so it sticks out a little further. Use that as a gauge. I think I can just file these guys to a point from this side. Alright, now I'm going to file these guys down a little bit. We just got to have them come back a little bit, so I just caught myself humming again. One of these days I'm just going to break into song and then you're all going to unsubscribe from my channel. I need to cut those a little bit shorter so they don't bump into each other. Okay, so I'm going to file these down a little bit. Actually, I'll probably file these ones here because they're harder to file to a point then, so do that first. Oopsie. Well, that's unfortunate. So, had a little bit of a catastrophic failure there, so I went back and I did some repairs, and now we'll give it another go for the last little bit here. Sometimes it happens. Okay, let's see if I can't do a better job of this last little part here this time. Give it a shot anyway. I'm going to use this little bit of twisted wire that has another twisted wire around it as the trunk. So I think I'm going to file this flat and then give it just a little slope, probably. I don't think it needs to be very long though, probably. Pretty short, a little bit like that. So let's cut it off there and kind of file it. That looks like the trunk of a tree to me. Attach the bezel to the top here, but I might need to clean it. Let's see how it sits there. Just like that. That's okay. I'm going to file this one down just a little bit. Look like the side's sticking up just a little bit more than that side, making the bezel sit to one side a little bit. So. I think that's probably okay. So let's solder him on there. I think the last time I did it, I just used some, I don't know, some 18 gauge twisted together. Any kind of little twisted wire. Or you could even use a piece of half round for the trunk if you wanted to. That would look nice as well. Make a little bail for this guy. Throw him in the pickle for a minute. Let's rest of this square wire. Let's make a little jump ring out of it. Square wire is always going to try and twist on you a little bit when you bend it that far. So we have to do a little manual shaping so it doesn't. So it doesn't twist on you. Okay, so I probably got maybe one possible ring out of this one. It's hard to make jump rings out of square wire because of its weird tendency to twist like that. Let's see if I can get a decent one out of here. Going to make a little bail that'll go through this. If you want to see how I make bails in a little more detailed explanation, check up there. I'll try and put a link up there if I remember. So this is 26 gauge sheet. This is 22 gauge sterling silver wire. And a couple of pieces just a little bit longer than the piece of sheet I just cut. Find the center of these. Okay, for these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend these at that little mark in the middle that I made, just slightly into kind of a chevron shape like that. Try and get them pretty similar as far as the angle. And then, so what's going to happen is I'm going to solder these down onto here, create a border for my bail, and then I'll trim off the excess sheet on the outside here. But in order to get a nice solder joint along the whole length of this wire, if I lean pieces of solder in here or on the outside, I'm going to get a little bit of slop. I probably could get by on the outside because most of it will stay out there. However, it's pretty easy to just pick solder a few pieces along the length of the wires, and then when it does flow, when it's sitting on here, it'll just kind of wick along that whole seam, and it works pretty well and pretty slick. I'm going to go ahead and flex this thing because I'm going to be putting them on there in a minute. You got to be a little careful when you're doing this. The wires are smaller than the sheet that they're on top of, and getting the sheet up to temperature takes a little bit longer than the wires, so you have to keep it moving pretty fast so you don't focus too long in one spot. Otherwise those wires will get too hot. Once it flows though, it should wick along the entire length like that. Trim off the excess sheet. I'm getting tired, I'm starting to drop stuff. Alright, so I got that pretty much filed down to the edges of the wire there, so I got kind of a diamond shape. Now, I'm going to use the bail making pliers here. These are handy to have. Just kind of bend it around those. That. And the smaller one there. Do it like that. Okay. But before we put that on, we still got to attach our little jump ring that this is going to go through. And so let's fish the main part of the pendant out here. So first I'm just going to solder that to the top there. And solder here. I have a few pieces on there already. It's just a little oxidized. Let's cool that off. And I'm just going to pop this through here. Somebody asked when you're soldering, I think it was Maui, maybe, who asked me something about how you don't stick this to the ring that you're putting it through when there's other solder around there and stuff. The general rule with silver is in order to get solder to run well, you need to heat the entire piece. Even if you're only soldering over here, it seems weird to heat down here, but you always got to heat the entire piece. Otherwise it loses too much heat from the opposite side where you're not heating. But when you're doing something like this where it's a separate piece that is not really a part of this one, it's loose, so it'll have some movement. Since it's not a part of this contiguous piece here, you have to just heat that part, and you can ignore the rest of this because you really don't want any of this solder running over here. You just want the little bit you're going to pick on the end here. So, this is one of the few instances where you don't have to heat the entire thing. Right there. As far as I can tell, it looks alright, but I'm kind of blind, so it'll be easier to tell when we clean it up. So I'm going to heat the rest of this up just a little bit because I use cold pickle, and throw it in there. And I'm going to let that sit overnight, I think, and then I'll set the stone and clean it up a little with a Dremel, and then we'll polish it on the wheel and make it look all pretty. I pickled overnight and I cleaned it up a bit with the rotary tool, and I think I'm going to set the stone. I also filed it down to the appropriate level for the stone. So let's get that set. Okay, give that just a little poke from behind. Yeah, feels like it's in there good. And I'll give it a polish on the wheel and I'll show you the rest. Okay, that's how it came out. I hope the camera captures the stone because it's a really pretty stone. It's just a real deep but very sparkly stone. So I'll take a better picture and hopefully we can capture that. All right. Okay, that was the Christmas tree pendant. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, make sure to hit the like button before you leave. And feel free to leave comments and suggestions for videos. And you know, I love having silver discussions in the comment section. So it's nice to hear other people's ideas and the way they do things and stuff like that. So, and don't forget, if you wanted to contribute to my cause, you can hit the link up above or in the video's description to buy me a coffee. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care and happy silversmithing.